You're in a meeting. Someone proposes something you know is a mistake. So you say so, calmly. You have the data. You're right. And nobody argues with you. The room just moves on. 3 weeks later, they do it the original way anyway. Only now, when the next decision comes up, nobody asks what you think. Here's what most men get wrong about that moment. They think they lost because their argument wasn't strong enough. So next time they come in with more data, more preparation, more certainty, and it works even worse. You didn't lose because you were wrong. You lost because of what your disagreement cost the other person in front of everyone else. The moment you push back in public, the question stops being, "What's the right call?" and becomes, "Who backs down?" And people will protect their standing in a room long before they protect a good idea. So this isn't about arguing better. It's about making it cheap for someone to change their mind. 4 techniques. The first 3 you can use tomorrow. The fourth one is the hardest, and it's the reason some men get labeled difficult, while others get asked their opinion first, before the meeting even starts. Let's start with the one that fails most often. We try to present more evidence. We bring charts, we bring spreadsheets, we bring irrefutable logic. We operate under the assumption that the problem is simply a lack of information. But evidence only persuades people who are neutral. When a colleague has already declared a position in front of their peers, they are no longer neutral. Their ego is now attached to the outcome. Every new piece of data you present doesn't bring them closer to the truth. It just raises the cost of changing their mind. More evidence doesn't move people who've already taken a position. It just raises the price of backing down. In every single disagreement you have at work, you are negotiating 2 things simultaneously. The first is the content of the decision itself. The second is the status of the people making it. Most men only ever play the content game. They lose the status game completely, without ever realizing they were playing it in the first place. And there's one situation where all 4 of these techniques stop working. I'll get to that at the end. Technique 1 is separating the position from the interest. A position is what someone says. An interest is what made them say it. Imagine your boss tells you he wants to launch the new product this month. That is the position. You know the product isn't ready. The code is buggy. The marketing isn't there. You could argue endlessly about the timeline, pulling up Gantt charts to prove it's impossible. But instead, you ask 2 quiet questions to find the real interest. You quickly discover it's not the deadline itself that he cares about. It's the fact that he just promised his boss a major deliverable by the end of the quarter. That piece of information completely changes how you push back. Instead of fighting the launch date head-on, you pause and ask, "What happens if we're late? Who feels it first?" You are no longer opposing the person. You are proposing a different, safer path to their exact same interest. Technique 2. Restate their argument better than they did. Don't just parrot their words back at them. Actually articulate their underlying logic. "If I've got this right, you're worried that..." And honestly, that's the risk I'd be watching too. Where I land differently is... The real effect of this technique has absolutely nothing to do with being polite. It's a tactical maneuver. It strips away the other person's easiest counterattack. They can no longer hide behind the excuse that you just don't understand the situation. When you've articulated their view more precisely than they did themselves, that door is permanently closed. But there is a caveat here. This technique backfires spectacularly if you do it mechanically. If people feel you're just running an HR script, the effect reverses completely. Technique 3. Choose the right room. Most disagreements should happen long before the meeting even starts. Disagreeing privately lets the other person change their mind for free. Disagreeing publicly forces them to pay with their face in front of the whole room. The most influential person in an organization usually isn't the one who talks the loudest or the most in meetings. It's the person who already had quiet, one-on-one conversations with 3 key people before the calendar invite even began. By the time the meeting starts, the decision is usually already made. You're just watching it get announced. This isn't manipulation, and it isn't sleazy office politics. It's simply respecting other people's time and protecting their face. Which brings us to the fourth one, the hardest one, the one that separates the amateurs from the professionals. Disagree and commit. When you've made your case, laid out your logic, and the decision still goes the other way. You state clearly that you disagree with the call, and then you execute it fully. And you have to actually mean it. No subtle sabotage. No dragging your feet on the deliverables. No passive-aggressive remarks in Slack. Anyone can be right. What people remember is whether you needed to be right. This action proves that your initial objection came from a genuine concern for the issue, not from your own ego. That's exactly why next time, people will proactively ask your opinion. Because they know your input doesn't come with a political cost attached to it. But be careful of the common trap. The words, "I told you so," even if you only say them with a smug look in your eyes, will erase every single bit of capital you just built. Earlier, I mentioned the one situation where all four of these techniques become entirely useless. That's when the disagreement isn't about a business decision, but about core values. When the issue touches on ethics, honesty, or how human beings are being treated. In those specific moments, making it easy for the other person to change their mind is no longer the goal. Sometimes losing the room is the exact right price to pay. Knowing the difference between these two situations is what separates genuine maturity from mere cleverness. At every management level, most of the real work is disagreeing with other people without breaking the working relationship. This is exactly why some of the most technically skilled people in the room spend 10 years stuck in the exact same position. They never figured out how to make it cheap for someone to change their mind. Which of these four is hardest for you? For most people, it's the fourth one. If you want to understand the deeper psychology behind this dynamic, you need to watch our breakdown on the difference between being liked and being respected. I'll see you there.